Hello my dear viewers, I come to you today while climbing Mount ᵖէ, because the first fact I have to share with you is all about making this climb less tedious, and really making some skips possible that weren't possible in the past. Even if you find Mount ᵖէ's platforming easy, it's hard to argue that it is a very long and drawn out process, and it would be cool if there were some ways to make that whole process easier. Fortunately for all of us, a man named Fallen recently discovered a glitch in the Hollow Knight speedrunning Discord relating to the Scuttle Brace. Yes, the Scuttle Brace has been a goldmine for glitches ever since the game first came out, and it's amazing to me that this glitch wasn't discovered in those 6 months or more since the game came out. So, the Scuttle Brace lets you climb up walls, as you could see, but what would happen if you try to climb up walls with it after they are already broken? Well, this is what will happen, my dear viewer. This is a specifically slow instance of the glitch working, but it is working. As long as you continue to hold down the buttons for the Scuttle Brace, you will be able to climb infinitely off of whatever wall just broke. And it doesn't have to be done with these magnetite walls. This is possible with any platform that disappears in any way in Silksong. And don't worry, like I said, it's normally much faster than that. This is what the normal glitch looks like. You see, very standard, very convenient, brings you halfway up this room, and that's only testing with one of the breakable walls in Mount ᵖէ. There are a lot of them. There's some of them in other areas too. I believe Fallen also found that you could use this to get into upper Biowater without getting the Monarch Wings, so you won't even need to go up Mount ᵖէ, or the Monarch Wings, sorry, the Fey Down Cloak. I get to Hollow Knight 1 brain sometimes, but this glitch is really fun, and it is useful for climbing Mount ᵖէ, but I think it's also just fun to do. Not everything has to be useful all the time, you know, and that's what this video is largely about. Some things are useful, but mostly I just want to go over facts, secrets, and glitches that are fun to do. And what's more fun than taking a slow rise up to Mount ᵖէ without using Silksong or anything else before needing to get to Act 3, So, this is fact number 1. I have 9 more facts to share with you all today, and I think they're all pretty hard to know. So, if you managed to get through this video and you knew all of the facts I have to share with you, you can feel free to leave a dislike, guilt-free. However, if you don't know at least one of the facts, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Now let's get on with the rest of the list. If you've ever fought Phantom before, you may remember that bringing them down to 0 HP doesn't outright kill them. It instead starts a cutscene where Hornet learns Cross Stitch, the ability to parry in this game. So if I were to turn on something like a one-hit kill hack and use it on any other boss in the game, they would just die straight out. For Phantom, it doesn't work like that. 1650 damage is more than enough to bring Phantom to their death. However, they will not die until they get their cutscene off that teaches you Cross Stitch. And in normal circumstances, this means they have to parry one of your needle swings, like so. And that got me wondering, what happens if we made our final blow against Phantom with something that wasn't the needle? Could they still parry that? And could they still teach you Cross Stitch in the same way? So I have things like the Wisfire Lantern, the Straight Pin, and Taxon to see if that is the case or not. Because theoretically, if Phantom doesn't parry these other things, you will never be able to beat them. But look at that, Phantom does parry the Straight Pin. It seems somewhat reasonable to be able to parry that, and by the way, you can fail the parry at the end of this, and Phantom will come back alive. But Phantom doesn't just parry the Straight Pin, no. They can parry Wisps, they can parry Pure Flame just to get you into this end state. Phantom is extremely skilled. I don't know anyone other than Lace, of course, who can parry Tax off the ground, a Ball of Fire, and a Pin. The Pin's the least impressive one, but there it is. Team Cherry made sure that you are gonna end this fight once you bring Phantom down to the last of their HP, whether you want to or not. And speaking of unique NPC interactions, this next fact is all about Loam and his treadmill. A treadmill that a lot of people use when trying to calculate the minimum wage of Underworks workers in Farloom. how much is Loam actually being paid to run for all eternity here, if he's being paid at all. And you may know that once you make that bar behind the treadmill go up all the way, you get 1 rosary bead. Incredible stuff. And if you have a controller, you can rubber band or hold down the button to run forever. And you may think that you can make an easy prediction that way, but as you can see on the screen right now, you can fail to be paid entirely at random. You can run as much as you need to, get the bar all the way up, and get paid nothing. Loam, I'm sorry you're getting stolen from. He does actually praise you for working with him, in case you didn't know that, which just makes it all the sadder when Loam doesn't deserve anything that happens to him in this game. He gets nothing positive outside of Silksong. For all the NPCs who do get benefits, he does not. So, the main fact is just that you can get robbed and scammed. But as a secondary fact, I've noticed there are some crazy interactions you can get by turning around sharply off the treadmill here. I think this gives you the fastest speed that you can hit in the entirety of Silksong, basically just by running and turning sharply. If you want to make any custom maps, any of you viewers out there, this is a great way to mess around with massive jumps that you wouldn't be able to make otherwise. Just put a treadmill somewhere in the world. If any of you viewers are like me, you would enjoy doing challenge runs and finding unique ways to play video games you love. One of my favorite challenge runs is the Pacifist run. I tried it already with Silksong, and the main thing that shows you whether you've killed something or not is the journal. If there's an enemy in the journal, then it's fair to assume you've killed them at some point, because that's how you get entries in the Hunter's Journal. However, sometimes Silksong, or Hornet rather, is very odd with how it decides you killed someone. That pilgrim, I did not touch. I did not do anything related to this pilgrim pouncer, and yet it was just added to my Hunter's Journal. Hornet, you are writing down these notes in the Hunter's Journal, correct? Does that mean that you are learning deep factors about these enemies by watching them kill themselves in the overworld? You are not learning how to fight them, and you are not taking credit for these kills, but in fact she is. As you last saw in the menu, it said we need to kill 34 more. Now we need to defeat 33 more of the Pilgrim Pouncer. So yes, pacifist runs in Hollow Knight Silksong are a lot harder than you might imagine, because Hornet counts every single instance of an enemy killing themselves as one of her own kills. You're stealing a little valor there, Hornet. You didn't do this work, you know that, right? Now this upcoming fact is one of my favorite, because it's so inoffensive, innocuous, and it's the kind of thing that makes me wonder, why does it exist? It's not offensive, like I said, I'm not upset that it exists, but why does it exist? I'm here in the Festival of the Flea, outside the Putrefied Ducks. If you go up to the ceiling of this room, you may see this shining rock. Those shining rocks usually indicate that they can be broken for shell shards, and this one is very much the same. You can come to the ceiling here when you get Silksong, and you can get, I believe, 8 shell shards from the ceiling of the Festival of the Flea. Why? Well, you know, like, Team Cherry likes to add these breakable things for flavor, and I would normally have no problem with that. The problem I have is that it's just that one rock. You want to look at the entire rest of the ceiling of this very large room, there are no more shell shards to be found. That is the only breakable rock in this room, surrounded on all sides by rock. Why is it there? Why did Team Cherry add that one and not any other rock except for some scrap metal, craft metal, whatever you want to call it? I don't know. They could have taken the 5 minutes it took to make that and gotten a smoothie. But this is what they were doing in those 7 years, I suppose, making stuff like this. If you're looking for more inconsequential details, I've got a beautiful one right here for you, my dear viewers. Nuu. She spends most of her time either here in Halfway Home or around Farloom finding the corpses of monsters. And unlike the previous detail, this is a detail which is very, very minor, but which I have great respect for Team Cherry for including, because this is just the kind of detail that truly can only come from a deeply passionate group of developers and a lot of time polishing all the details. Because Nuu is in halfway home so often, you can see her from the outside, but not only can you see her, you can get her to react to Hornet, because this is one of the few windows that exist in this game. You can hit it, you can use your taunt, you can find many ways to get Nuu to react to you while you are outside the building and she is inside the building. This is 100% something that most people wouldn't notice in their standard playthrough. And yet, Team Cherry made this interaction anyway, because those are just the kind of developers they are, and gosh darn it, we all love them for it. A few rooms to the left of Nuu and the halfway home, we can find Moorwing if we skipped them in their initial location in Greymoor, and we can also find my cocoon because I'm bad at the game. But the initial area that you are meant to fight Moorwing in Greymoor is structured like a boss arena. There's not any other enemies, there's really not many platforms, it's mostly just flat ground. This room is very different, and because it's very different, it's got some weird interactions when it comes to Moorwing and everything around it. This room has other enemies, it has smaller platforms, it has a great vertical distance that you can get Moorwing to fly up, because Moorwing's a flying creature. And most of all, it lets Moorwing break all the platforms that you would use to platform with. Yeah, Team Cherry, specifically knowing that they were going to put Moorwing in this room, gave it the capabilities to break your smaller platforms, which is just rude. I have the ability to double jump, but imagine coming here to fight Moorwing, you try to jump up here to escape, and Moorwing just breaks your platforms. I have claw line and double jump, so I can kind of manage to get back up there. But if you don't, Moorwings essentially remove half of your ability to maneuver in this room. Now, it's a cool interaction, don't get me wrong. It's really neat that they even thought about this to begin with. And this room has a ton of other problems with fighting Moorwing, where you can get Moorwing stuck all over the place and basically cheese them. But it's certainly a unique encounter seeing them here, I can say that. And while that cool Moorwing interaction was intended, here's one that was not. I just got hit at the beginning of the Voltvyrm fight. Doing so doesn't seem to have done anything crazy, but as you notice, I am now fully invincible to all damage Voltvyrm deals. Now I'm going to slow that initial footage down to show you exactly what happened, but essentially, I got hit at the exact time that I got pushed away by Voltvyrm's Scream. And Hollow Knight bosses and Silksong bosses have this Scream, which essentially prevents you from dealing damage to bosses right as they spawn in. So if you interrupt something like your own invincibility frames with that Scream, then that means that you never finish them, and the game never reactivates your ability to get hurt. Which means you can fully beat Voltvyrm without having any problems in this room. In fact, it's not even just Voltvyrm. You want to run around in this one special area, the Volt Nest, I believe it's called, after beating Voltvyrm, you can do so with no problems at all. You are fully invincible. Sadly, this is an invincibility that lasts in this room and only in this room. The second you leave it, the game realizes that you should be able to be taking damage, and it removes your God mode in here. But for all those some individuals who have trouble with beating Voltvyrm, this could be the trick for you. It's hard to activate, but it is really satisfying to essentially turn on cheats without needing to install any cheats or do anything wrong. But yeah, as you can see, we lose our invincibility, and the second we enter back into the Voltvyrm arena, the Volt Nest, we are able to get hurt again. So it's just a nice peculiarity more than anything else. And there's more peculiarities to be found in Silksong's Hunter's Journal. The way these things usually work is that an enemy will only spawn in here once you've beaten them at least once, and you will get your notes on the enemy when you've beaten the amount of them that the game asks you to. When it comes to bosses, usually that amount is 1, but it's not always 1. And Lace is one of those bosses who has multiple encounters in Silksong. As you can see, this is the first time I've beaten her, so I got a new journal entry for her that wasn't in my Hunter's Journal previously. However, if you go to look at Lace's entry right now, you'll note that it says you still need to defeat one more of her to complete the notes. and that is essentially the second Lace fight that you get up in the cradle. But this first fight with Lace is skippable. So what happens if we skip it? I've gone to a save file where I did not fight Lace in the Marrow, therefore she does not appear in my Hunter's Journal at all. Now, if the game requires you to beat Lace twice to get the Hunter's notes on her, then does that mean if you skip that fight with her, you will just never get the notes on her? And I'm not really asking genuinely, because I think anyone who plays this game knows that that is not the case. You get your new journal entry for Lace here, but if you only ever fought Lace in the cradle, you will get her full notes. Hornet, in one playthrough, fights Lace twice, and after the first fight says, I don't know enough about her to make these notes. In the second playthrough, she fights Lace once, and after fighting Lace once immediately says, okay, I know enough, I'm gonna make these notes. You're inconsistent, Hornet, you know that? I think you just got lazy in this playthrough. You should not have enough information based on what the Hunter's Journal said the time you beat Lace the first time. It says you need to beat her twice to get her notes, and I don't know if it's just Lace, but I think this might be the only case where the Hunter's Journal's requirements change depending on what order you fight bosses in. It's a very odd peculiarity, as I said at the beginning of this section, so I figured it was something I would share for all of you who maybe didn't think about this. And so we've come to our 10th and final fact of the video today. This fact isn't nearly as complicated or confusing as some of the glitches and other things I've pointed out today. I wanted to end on a softer note, something that I didn't notice until creating this video, but I know a lot of people around me have noticed. All the tools in Silksong have circular kind of outlines, and the blue and yellow ones are pure circles in all cases. You've noticed them, I'm sure, when you've been in the menu making your dozens of builds as you try to find what works best in every situation. Did you know, however, that the red tool has a specific arrow to indicate where it is located on your crest? I did not know that until making this video. Half a year of making videos on Hollow Knight Silksong, and I did not know that the top, middle, and bottom sections of your red tools have specific outlines that let you know where they are equipped when you look at the right side of your screen. I know, it's ridiculous. It's something that I've seen so often, and yet I never conceptualized that Team Cherry made that specific design. And they made that same design for Silk Skills as well. However, you will never see those arrows on the Silk Skills unless you have the Shaman crest, because all Silk Skills on every other crest only can be equipped in the middle slot, which has no arrows showing you what direction it's going in. So yeah, that is my 10th and final fact for all of you today, my dear viewers. You can look at the right side of your screen if for some reason you're blind in your left eye, and still know where all of your red tools and Silk Skills are equipped on whatever crest you are equipping them to. And again, like many things I pointed out today, it's one of those details that absolutely 100% could have been overlooked or just not made to begin with. But Team Cherry goes the extra mile, and it's always been the point of my channel to share this kind of information with all of you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good day, everyone.